Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, The Kryptonian Age, Issue 2, Andy Diggle writing with Leonardo Fernandez on the art. So, what did you think of Issue 1 before we get into this?
I thought it was solid, and it wasn't what I expected.
Yeah,
I was expecting more. So what I was expecting going in was the Gotham by Gaslight time period and style and setting, but a Superman focused story.
and it kind of starts like it's going to be because you get the couple, the ship landing.
You see the Kent, you see the meteor, it's that's what I thought I was getting going in, but it's not that at all.
No,
so there was some adjustment involved.
Yeah, you cut to Gotham and there's a Kryptonian Age museum thing on, and it's like, wait, there's things called the Kryptonian Age from years ago, and
it seems like the Kryptonians were like an ancient civilization on Earth, is what I'm getting from this issue. Like the way they believe it's almost like they're uncovering Aztec ruins or something like that. Is the way it feels.
Yeah, so me and Matt talked a lot about like how's this going to work out, especially since some of the armor looked more Thanagarian in the museum than it did Kryptonian. But it seems like some of it's kryptonite because it's glowing green, and whatever. But then Matt was convinced there was a Green Lantern ring at one point, but then I pointed out that it had a sort of Superman emblem shape to it, so maybe not. There was a lot, but then this issue murkies the waters more because this issue seems to add in Wonder Woman stuff into this lost era of stuff they're finding. So
yeah, it's so and like even the choice of art. So like Gotham by Gaslight, it's Mignola, right? Originally. So I'm expecting that style, and at points it almost feels like that, but at other points it feels like it's trying to be more Frank Miller-esque. So it's like I can't I don't know what exactly. I'm enjoying it, don't get me wrong, but I'm not entirely sure what it wants to be and what its influences are supposed to be.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. Like I enjoyed this issue again quite a bit, and I enjoyed the first issue quite a bit. I think it's really well told. I think it's definitely doing stuff that no one was kind of expecting from the premise. Maybe if you read the solicit, it pointed at some of it. I don't know, but like this issue starts with this extended sequence of a boat which has been sent by a Mr. Wayne. Now, is that Mr. Wayne right now in the book, or is this in the past and this is like Bruce Wayne's grandfather who's sent them out here? I don't know, right? I'm going to assume it's the current day, 1930 something, Mr. Wayne, or not 1930, 1902 or whatever it is, right? Whatever Gotham by Gaslights might be, 1899, something like that.
I think it was like 1800s, yeah.
But okay, so let's assume that, and I'm getting okay. So this is like that TV show, The Terror, right? They're trying to go through the Antarctic with their boats looking for this stuff, and there was a lot of stuff early on with like this, barman warning them not to go into the ice, and the stars won't help you down here for navigation. And it sort of sets up, there's something mystical about
things
here.
Are a bit weird.
Yeah, and they find these ruins of a Kryptonian age. They see some carvings, and they mention.
And I'm thinking at this point, I'm like, is this kind of this universe's
fortress
version of the fortress?
Yeah, I was thinking that too, right? And then they find these carvings, and it's like, oh, it's like these beings, whoever they are, they worship the sun, and it's like they're holding up a Superman emblem pointing up to the sun, and I'm like, okay, well, these Kryptonians that landed here thousands of years ago, so they are ancient in the context of they came a long time ago and they're gone now, they all died out or whatever, but there was Kryptonians here. Because the question...
A little bit of that Snyderverse influence.
Which, I mean, that's not a problem, but the question I then have is like, I have to go back and check if the first issue put a date on it, but when that meteor arrived next to the seemingly the Kents, was that happening around now? Was that happening like 25 years ago, so that Superman would be an adult now, or is that happening a long ass time ago?
Yeah, I don't remember what date it had on it, or if it did have one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think there's been a lot of dates in this book. I don't remember a lot of like hard dating.
Oh, they're going to, I don't want to spoil the TV show, but they're going to maybe do a twist where this is like the Justice League are all like hooked up to VR headsets. They're all like asleep. And it's actually just the regular Justice League, but they're in like a virtual reality.
I mean, maybe at this point.
And it's
it would explain it quite a bit.
Yeah, it's meshing a bunch of stuff together because it's all just their shared consciousness doing this.
I'm just trying to open up the first issue. Just loading up DC Universe to see if I can find out if there was a date at the start of that issue.
Yeah, it's just the first couple of pages.
Yeah, it's just loading up now.
Yeah.
So the first stuff was 1860,
So yeah, that would be.
and then it cut ahead to 1893.
So yeah, so Superman would be an adult, right? He'd be
Yes.
grown up, assuming that a baby landed there, because I don't know if it showed us that. It just showed us them seeing a meteor, I think.
It showed
landing.
a ship. It showed a ship opening.
Okay. We didn't see what was inside the ship.
No, just a green glow.
Just a green glow at home. So yeah, basically these shipmen.
Also, just to rewind, you might have spoke about it last time, but I'm just looking at it now.
Uh-huh.
It shows the Native Americans seeing the green glow after they open it, and I do wonder if maybe they raised Clark instead, and we'll get a very, very different Superman.
Oh yeah. We talked about the book definitely went out of its way to show them seeing that. Yeah. So these sailors, like one of them gets attacked, right? We don't see it, but they find his body like mutilated, and we see like someone cowering up in like a pillar watching them, and that's kind of where we end that opening scene. And it, so it feels like a horror story. And I'm like, okay, I was really into all this just on its own as like a little story.
And then we're just back to Gotham with Batman and Talia.
Yeah, on top of the train, and they have this big fight. The art's great, like them back and forth with the sword and all that. Like this is a longer issue. It's not quite as long as some of the Black Label books. This is more like a 35-page kind of number, but like it read super quick because the action here flows very quickly and very well. I particularly enjoyed Batman throwing some boiling acid at the sword to melt it. I enjoyed that quite a bit. But yeah, good use of coloring. I particularly like towards the end of the fight where there's a panel where there's like a light from the train or something like shining up at Batman as he's sort of bloody and beaten, and like just the way they've like done the light in there with the shadows and the bright colors, they really showed the harsh light on his face. I thought was quite good. Really set a tone. Yeah. So yeah, ultimately he gets thrown off the train and Talia cuts his grappling cord. So yeah,
and he falls into the window of some Barbatos worshippers.
Yeah, this was really funny to me because obviously the whole idea of Barbatos, I mean, maybe there was an obscure reference a long time ago, but typically speaking, it's a modern thing, right? It's a modern thing in terms of how we talk about it now.
I'm wondering because obviously the big thing that brought into modern day was probably Grant Morrison's work.
Yeah,
and I know how much they love pulling random shit from like obscure comics in the 30s.
Oh 40s, yeah. 50s. Like Morrison, Wade, even Johns, they're all guilty of it. They all love to flex their DC knowledge muscles in different ways.
So I bet you Barbatos was a thing that they've just pulled out of obscurity, and now we just associate it with the current stuff. That's
got a laugh out of me though, because this is like a cult worshipping kind of like witchcraft table, and they're like, oh, Barbatos, send us a message, and then Batman crashes through the window, and they all just look terrified, and he's like, go to church, you weirdos. It just gets out of there. I thought it was funny. And then we get a whole interlude part of the story here where we go to a castle in Scotland, although it's a
Balmoral.
Sorry?
Balmoral Castle.
Balmoral, sorry, yes.
I mean, it's kind of important to what, because as soon as anyone who knows, as soon as you see that, you know what this is going to be.
Do I? I don't know.
Well, Balmoral is the residence of the royal family in Scotland. Even today, it's where they go and spend Christmas, for example.
Did not know that.
I see. Well,
did not know them.
It is. So as soon as I saw that, for me it was very clear. Okay, we're playing with royalty. Yeah,
well, no, because that was the thing. It said Scotland, and then within a couple of panels of actually hearing this old woman speak, I'm like, oh no, she's not. This is some pompous for the British Empire woman. This is not.
It's Queen Vic.
Yeah. So like but it took me a few panels to get to sort of the context of who she was and like what her character was. So yeah, the whole thing is that Constantine has snuck into the chambers and is looking at something in the crypt, which is green glowing, might we add. It's like a big medallion that's glowing green from the...
And he's like, what the hell? How long's it been doing this for? Why didn't you tell me?
Which is interesting if some of this stuff, which I presume is also from the Kryptonian age, has only just started glowing green and wasn't always glowing green.
Quite possibly. And Joe, I'm glad I went and checked that date just now, because it started glowing in 1860, which is when that was when that meteor shower was set.
The ship arriving. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
All very
I assume
interesting.
meteor shower and not just the ship because it mentions meteors in the narration at that point as well.
Yeah. I wonder if the stuff from back then isn't kryptonite in the sense that it's not radioactive like the actual kryptonite is. It's like pieces of the home world, but it's not. I mean, maybe it'll still be deadly to Superman. I don't know, but just the idea that it's glowing now when it arrives is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because kryptonite inherently isn't technology from Krypton; it's just rock. So why would it react to the ship arriving? Kind of thing, you know? That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I think in this case, maybe it's more that it is actually a technology and it's responding to like a transmitter being in the area.
Hmm. But regardless, she has him hanged for snooping around in the grounds. But it's a fake hanging, right? So they do a whole public hanging. He goes through the door, but he lands on a mattress. And it's like she's waiting down there with a she's looking because all the pages before this she was in her 90 because she'd been woken up out of bed, but now she's sitting in her chair. She's got her little tiara thing on, and she's.
I will say this did confuse me for a couple of pages. With the coloring, it immediately went all sepia. I was like, is this meant to be a flashback? Is this showing us Constantine becoming in her employ before, or is this after that event?
I think it's after. I mean, I think
it is, but I think it was unclear with the choice of coloring.
I think it's just a case of once you get to her, I think it's pretty clear that this is just set after, and this was just a case of like them faking his death. The coloring is probably them trying to show the dour weather of Scotland, I assume.
I don't think so because it's already in Scotland before that, and like that first page at night, it's like all purples, right, and purples and greens. It's not warm, but it's not the it's not colorless like these couple of pages are.
Yeah, but I'm thinking they're going for daytime like dour. This is like miserable grey skies.
It is what I assume Scotland looks like.
Yes, Constantine. He's to go and investigate all these assets because she wants them for the British Empire, the cow that she is. So
pretty much, yeah.
Can't say I'm all about the whole colonizing bollocks that the British Empire were all about.
Look, I can't say that I'm particularly pro-colonizer myself, but it happened.
We come back to Wayne Manor, and Julia Pennyworth is just here. She's just here in this continuity, helping out Alfred. Well, for a second, because she comes down and she says, "Oh, did the ruse work?" And part of me thought, "Wait, is that Selena? Are they doing a whole thing here where they were in and everything from the get go?" And it's not. It's it's Julia, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I did feel like she was like she kept pointing out how many times Bruce was bringing up a woman because it's like, yeah, there was a thief. It's like, a she, you say. Oh, and then
that's because he calls it's Julie, not Julia. So I did wonder if it was not the same person. So I did wonder if it was someone else, maybe.
Oh, this is a love interest?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, to be fair, there's no reason why it couldn't be both a love interest as well, right?
That's true. Maybe shacking up with Alfred's niece.
Yeah, that's definitely possible.
Very possible. No, it was the way she kept saying that. Like, oh, as a thief. Oh, a woman. Oh, and then the head of the assassins was a woman. Oh, there's a lot of women you were spending time with last night. But I don't know if she was just doing that sort of typical Alfred style thing where he's kind of like raising the eyebrow, like, oh, you've been, balancing with women. Anyway, the more interesting thing here, though, other than the art, when he's talking about how fear in the dark and like legacies and legends growing, and they put his face all in shadow because he's thinking about being Batman because he loves it. Is that some of these things when he's looking at the Kryptonian Age stuff, he holds up a bit of paper that very much looks like a Wonder Woman logo of some kind.
It is, and you see like the warrior at the back kind of looks more. Yeah,
the photograph underneath, yeah. And then obviously that gets paid off here when we go back to the Antarctica, where the sailors are all running from whatever, killed this guy.
Giant centipede thing.
Yeah, it jumps out, and there's a big monster movie moment, fun. And that's when what appears to be an Amazon jumps down. That's who was up in the perch looking down at them early on with the shield. It may even be Wonder Woman herself, depending on where we go with this.
It looks like it with the lasso, and this is where it felt super Frank Miller art as well. This felt very much like it was out of the more recent Frank Miller, the Golden Age thing that they did. The one with the with Wonder Woman that they did a couple of years ago, and it's like almost this design. It's really similar.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder where they're going with this, because it does make me think that this Kryptonian age isn't specific to Krypton necessarily, although there's definitely Kryptonian stuff in there. It feels like it's like, no. There was an age of heroes where a version of the Justice League all existed in some... No, whether or not they were actually a league and worked together as a team, or they were just all have a war with each other because they all represented different parties, I don't know. But it feels like there's something representing almost the entire Justice League at this point coming from this. Like between the conversation me and Matt had last time, even though I was definitely against it's a Green Lantern ring, now I'm like, well, I'm not so sure now because now there's Wonder Woman shit involved. So yeah. I don't know. There's a lot going on here, and I'm definitely into the mystery, and I'm into the world building of like what it all is.
Yeah, it's been really solid.
Yeah, and like the horror movie style stuff of the sailors get into the Antarctic, then the monster stuff at the end, the fighting with Batman and Talia. Like I enjoyed everything in this pretty much. I could do a less Constantine, but whatever. They're setting up some plots or whatever. Go for it.
I think every book is improved with a little bit of Constantine, especially Victorian Constantine.
Nah. Yeah. Plus, anytime I have to spend with royalty, I always regret a little bit.
Oh, I'm aware.
Dear. Nah. It's alright. Anyway, it's still fun. I think the art's still really good as well, across the board. Despite the comparisons to Frank Miller, which obviously he can be very hit and miss. And
in his day.
In his day, but I'm saying any of the art that he's done in the last decade or two has been a lot rougher. I think the art here is pretty good and fits the tone and the vibe that it's going for. And she wasn't in this issue, but there was a lot of focus on Selina and who she is in this world last issue. Because Matt actually read Gotham by Gaslight for the first time in prep for the first issue coming out, and I've not read it, so I was asking him, I was like, is this pretty Selina solid. Come from that book? And he's like, no, she's not even in that book. And I'm like, so this is like this is them adding to that world of like adding what the Selina's like and all that. I'm like, that's cool. What are you rating Gotham by Gaslight Kryptonian Age?
I'll probably give it I'll give it an 8. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think it's an 8. I might even go at 8.5, to be honest. It's a really pleasant surprise. Like, I don't know that I was expected to be bad by any means, but it was just a solid story.
It had the air going into it of it's a cash grab with a name recognition, and obviously it had talent attached. Like Andy Diggle's a very solid writer, but it didn't really have anything to be excited about.
It's especially interesting that the original story is basically a one shot. It's like a big one shot, and then this is going to be.
I think it's about 90 odd pages.
Yeah, this is a 12-issue series, I think.
This is 12.
I think so.
Jeez, I thought it was like 4.
Oh, it's way more than 4.
Oh, okay.